Lagos State government has announced the alternative routes mapped out following the planned 6 months closure of the Third Mainland Bridge and are already for use after repair works on them. My colleague Leila Johnson Salami had a chat with the General Manager of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, popularly known as LASTMA, Olajide Oduyoye, on the planned partial closure of the Third Mainland Bridge, and he had this to say.
Well, LASTMA is good to go, as you would like to say. It's not a new thing. It's not the first time that a bridge will be closed for maintenance works. So it's something that we're used to. It happened in 2008, it happened in 2012. There was partial closure for 3 days in 2018. And when that happens, we're always on ground to manage the traffic flow. We always know it's going to be difficult, but we're on ground to ensure that there are no unexpected hiccups.
That's great, sir. But, of course, every single time that Third Mainland Bridge has been closed, there has been heavy congestion in Lagos State. That's not something that anyone can really deny. But we do expect things to be different this time, or we would hope that things will be different this time. So what do you intend on doing differently to ensure that we can reduce the congestion that often occurs when we have a road closure of such a major road within the city?
Well, I'm going to be brutally honest. Nothing will change in terms of maybe the fear or apprehension or the level of traffic that we would expect. At the end of the day, we just need to understand what constitutes the traffic, who constitutes the traffic, and what we all need to do as responsible people to avert or just not to ensure that it's not as negatively bad on our living opportunities every single day. At the end of the day, it's not any particular government that we can point finger at right now and say, you are at fault. We are all at fault for what is not right. And I can always break that down later.
You're absolutely right. Congestion is something that will sort of always occur with a major closure or partial closure of such a major road. But let's also speak about the fact that, of course, there are alternative roads that have been under reconstruction ahead of this partial closure to make life easier for motorists. But not all of those roads are complete yet. How confident are you that those roads will be complete in 4 days' time?
Well, fortunately, we went out on site yesterday to review the list of all the roads that were going to be used once the closure kicks in. And even though we say 4 days, but we're lucky that the Commissioner of Police is giving contractors the go-ahead to do work at night. We have the COVID curfew, all right? So they have the opportunity to work at night. So pretty confident that all the ones that they said they're going to do will be sorted out before or by Friday. And at the end of the day, it's an ongoing thing. We've got 6 months to deal with this situation. And whatever it is that we cannot sort out before Friday will continually be done as time goes on. So the guarantee that the government is giving everyone is that the listed alternative routes will be available for the motoring public.
Okay, and what are the challenges would you say that your agency has identified ahead of this partial closure that you are currently trying to find a way over?
I would say attitude of the motoring public. And an attitude, the number one item on that list is complete and total impatience. We all know what's going to happen. We should by now buy in as to why the bridge needs to be closed. So this is not a punishment imposed on anyone in particular. So once you buy that into your heart, and you know that the traffic is going to be increased because everyone wants to do the same thing that they were doing even before the closure. So we're all part of it. Now, if you now put in a situation where you're impatient on it, then you are creating the problem. And that is where the officers of Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASTMA, would have a problem. Because what problem do we have human beings as officers? We're not talking about traffic signalization now. Even with that, we tend to want to violate it at will, all right? So we now have officers on the road. So when an officer says stop because it needs to pass another segment or another part of a junction, and you don't stop and you block the junction, that is where problems comes in. And those are the sort of challenges that I envisage. And I can't say how we're going to surmount it, except the people who are likely to cause the problem do not create that problem in the first place.
Yes, and of course, while we do have motorists and road users that can be a problem, there are also often reports of LASTMA officers too that do cause problems, and this is a major issue for road users. And of course, one can only expect that with all the tension that we are going to see with heavy congestion or increased congestion ahead of this partial closure and during this partial closure, that you may be getting more reports. How can citizens actually come forward to report cases of LASTMA officers abusing their uniform, and how can we also be confident that this is something that LASTMA will definitely look into?
Well, thank you very much for that. We have publicized telephone numbers of different areas of LASTMA where the motoring public can call in when they have issues, the sort of issues that you sort of broken down as the reports is coming out. And I must stress, bad news travels fast and wide, all right? We have over 4,000 officers working on the roads across the city: Badagry, Ekpe, Ikorodu, Mainland, Lagos, Lagos Island. And surely, whether we like it or not, more than likely, there are some bad elements in the system. There are some who disrespect their position and their uniform. And there are some who go out of their way just to create a bad environment for motorists. But it's very, very small. Now, the management of LASTMA cannot see every single situation across the board. So I expect the motoring public to be able to feel free to report all those incidences, because that is how you can curb it. I mean, at the end of the day, they are still protected under the rules and engagement for their employment. So it's not like I have the authority to just wake up just because I've caught an officer doing something that is untoward and say, I sack you the next day. That's not going to happen. But I need to have evidences. I need to have support from the public to say this officer is not doing well. This officer has done X, Y, Z. This is his name, of which his name badge should be on his uniform, and report it so we can clean our house. But we need that help. Having said that, there are thousands of officers that are working so hard, waking up too early just to get to the checkpoint and working late into the night. And maybe that is expected, but we don't really tend to talk about that. We just talk about and push into the mainstream all the small little incidences that is just not okay.
And lastly, Mr. Oduyoye, ahead of this partial closure, how would you say that both motorists and also LASTMA can better adopt the use of technology or embrace the use of technology to make it an easier experience?
Yes, I mean, Mr. Governor, Excellency, doesn't like us to use Excellency, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is someone who embraces technology in improving situations. And technology certainly would help in the relationship between enforcement officers, especially with LASTMA, and the motoring public. It's something that's on the burner. If it wasn't for COVID-19, I am sure we would have kicked out some things that would have done to reduce the conflict between misunderstanding between the motoring public and LASTMA officers. So yes, it's something that's on the board. I probably don't want to shoot too fast, but I know before the end of this year, we will see a difference in terms of interaction between enforcement officers of traffic and the motoring public.